Hello everybody, welcome to Waddicker's 12 Days of Meatmas. This is day 5, December 17th. We're going to actually do something a little bit different this time. We're going to do some faster runs so we can kind of squish a shorter video in now and then. Because doing 40 minutes is fine, doing them for every single one is a bit taxing. So for this, we're actually going to go back to Classic Loadout Lewis, and we're going to put on a custom amount of health with Human. I believe that's 2,000 health, half of what we usually have at 4,000. No, not half. It's more than half because we usually have 5,000, I believe. So, these runs should be going fairly quick, and we should die quite a few times. I am ready for this challenge. Well, not really like a hard challenge. It's not like we're playing one hit, which we probably aren't going to play, by the way. I'm not really a big fan of one hit. I'm also not a big fan of limited ammo mode. I probably should try it again at some point. This gun also isn't helping, but we'll see. I should try limited ammo again at some point. It's just that the one time I did try it, I personally just really didn't like it. All like the futzing about with ammo and kind of making sure you had everything and then just spawning a whole bunch of it and then like manually loading magazines and it's a snore fest for me. I much prefer like getting in, going, finding cool guns, shooting cool SO6. I need my fast adrenaline rush, you know? 8 brain love dopamine, you know? Oh. Yeet. Some of you might be wondering, with bolt actions, why do you always manually cycle instead of, well, not manually cycling? Why don't you do the quick bolt method? And the reason for that is because, personally, it's a lot more consistent for me. Let me reiterate on that one side. Oh no! My touchpads are getting very finicky. Why can't I do anything? Alright, give me a sec to turn the touchpads on, or turn the controls on and off again. Do the same thing we did in one of the previous episodes. Hold them out, arms or hands completely open, not touching anything. Okay. That's not what I intended. And I can't actually pick anything up anymore. Really? Okay, it does work. Okay, there we go. Whew! Sorry, I just wanted to put back in 5 instead of 6. Okay, but back on what we were talking about before. Why do you manually cycle your bolt actions instead of using the quick bolt option? Personally, because I find it a lot more consistent for me to hit shots if I have control over where the gun is pointing. For me, if I use the quick shooting, my gun kind of, like the gun jitters around and kind of wilds around a bit. And I don't really enjoy that aspect where I have to just kind of redo my aim again because the gun flicks up. I also don't think it looks very cool. I think it's kind of janky, looks kind of weird. I could do the new take and hold, or the new one, but I don't know how. I think I have it turned off. But yeah, I prefer just manually cycling. Feels a lot more consistent to me, looks a lot better to me.
Damn, that was a good one.
And there's your explanation. I just prefer it. Alright, well, we're gonna go with this. What is this? This is the Smith & Wesson 500. So we are dead already. Well, I did say that the deaths were going to come quite fast.
Target system detected.
And admittedly, I did just sit there and take it, so... Now that is a bit more like it. Alright. We will try and be a little bit more careful. Not very much careful, to be honest. But, honestly, personally, I'm not really that big of a fan of revolvers in H3. I don't think I'm a fan of revolvers in general. Something about the moderately slow reload time, the frame, the just in general stuff. I much prefer a mag-fed handgun. Because also they're kind of easier to reload as well. You know, I don't think it's a very not understandable thing to prefer a mag-fed over a revolver in H3. I think it's kind of very practical, but you know, revolvers are cool. I'm not saying they aren't cool. They're really cool. I still love using them, but he had to give me a choice. Gotta go with this. So,
I should get a boat.
also the Deagle's cool. Whew. I also gotta remember to jump more. Jumping in this game is fun.
Hold this position.
There's this really cool clip I have, or that I keep sending to people, of me walking into this room in specific with a revolver, a rhino I think it was, and just like jumping around, shooting them as I'm jumping to them and stuff like that. It's a really, really cool looking clip. Unfortunately, I missed one shot on it, which is kind of sad. Like I hit all Sostigs except one time in the clip, and Muris, the moderator of, the moderator of the HTVR Discord, kind of dogs on me for missing my shots and my clips. Where I'm like, look at this cool, satisfying clip of like performing a really cool sequence of shots, and he's like, yeah, but you missed one shot though. And I'm like, fair? But also, fuck you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. How many deagles are there in this game now? There's quite a lot now, because he's added like a few cursed ones, a few lower caliber ones.
Override token found.
What I remember, there's like 4 or 5. We're not gonna buy another pistol. We don't need another one. We have the big fat deagle.
Time to file my workers' comp.
Hope you guys are enjoying these videos, by the way. They're a bit experimental. For the longest time I have wanted to do pre-recorded content. I think I also already talked about this, so I probably shouldn't talk about it much more in case we just like repeat. Don't want to put me on a big old loop, but oh well. Ah, I punched something.
Got me fair and square. Check this out.
Override
Tis
token
only a
found.
flesh wound.
Indeed, 'tis only a flesh wound. Didn't Sosig voice... Oh, whole points. Poggies. Didn't Sosig voice lines used to, or Death voice lines used to never play? Because Anton kind of coded them to never talk when they died. I'm pretty sure that was a thing, and he ended up editing it so it's like, well, they can say one line before they die. Because all the death lines were never getting heard because they would die when they were about to say it.
Analyzing system.
Or I guess the opposite, they would say it when they were about to die. So they would get cut off and, you know, oops. Man, I need to stop punching shit. Dude, it's the VR curse. I'm sure everyone at some point has just punched something in their room that's pretty valuable. I mean, I'm lucky. I've never actually destroyed anything in my room.
Tis only a flesh wound.
There was the one time in my April Fool's stream, my 2020 April Fool's stream, where I pretended to be a new player playing the game. Which was, if you don't know, was an April Fool's thing. I'm sure everyone figured it out at that point, because I think I put April Fool's in the title. Maybe, maybe not. It was kind of very obvious via, like, the comments and stuff like that. I'm glad everyone actually got the joke, you know? And everyone, like, I'm so glad everyone in the stream who would normally watch followed along. They didn't, like, spoil it or, like, you know, say, like, oh, you know, he knows how he's playing, he's doing this as a joke. Everyone followed along. It was fucking fantastic. I actually can't believe it. Normally you do get a bunch of people who just kind of goes whoosh over their head and they kind of try and spoil it and shit like that. Which if you try to do, doesn't, it's fine. I think there were a few comments of people being like, don't you normally know how to play the game? And like everyone else was like, shh, quiet, shh, it's a secret. Oh.
Will fail.
I'll be honest, I completely forgot about you, Encryption. Shows you how much, how valuable you are to me.
Advancing to next system layer.
Double feed! Pog!
Analyzing system.
But I'm so glad most people kind of followed along with the joke. I wasn't expecting them to. And it was just really nice. It was really fun. And also, it was surprisingly easy. Well, after about 10 minutes of pretending to be bad at the game, it actually kind of came natural, as like ironic as that might sound. Where I would just be bad at the game.
Really need to pick a new career.
I'm honestly kind of scared about how easy it was to actually pretend to be terrible at H3. Or pretend to be, not be terrible, that's kind of rude. Pretend to be new at H3. But there's one moment in particular that always kind of cracks me up a little bit, where we are playing the sampler platter, because people in the chat who didn't really,
And take it.
I wouldn't say who didn't get the joke, but people who thought I was an actual new player suggested, hey, go into the sampler platter if you're new, because then you get a bunch of, you get some tutorials and like you get taught how to play, and so we're like, oh cool, a tutorial? Let's go and have a look. And
Token found.
when I went into the into HCVR's tutorial sampler platter, quote unquote tutorial, I would say, unintentionally, I managed to ignore all the instructions. Like, they were so, I guess it's really a bit rude to say uninteresting, but they were so kind of out of the way, not really noticeable. I was like, I could get very easily distracted, that I genuinely accidentally completely ignored all the instructions, which I thought was kind of fucking hilarious. I don't think it's harsh to say that I think HCVR has some pretty not good tutorials, but I think that's kind of rightfully so because it's in early access still. Not that there's a problem with that, but you know, it's still in early access, which is kind of impressive considering how much content it has. This is easily the most content-rich VR game that exists, and it could be just bias playing, but I do genuinely think this is like the best VR game currently. And yes, that statement there is biased. I can assure you that one. But I do think there is more than enough of a case to warrant so.
Override token found.
I haven't gotten the PPSH in a really long time. Unfortunately, it's not really what I want. Something like that is a bit more what I want, something a bit more quirky. And my god, is this quirky. I mentioned it in the first day, but I usually forget that this gun even exists. But this is what I want. Yeah! Give me the quirky guns!
Override token found.
We also do need, we've got just a bunch of high caliber weapons, don't we? We do need something that can punch through armor, because the dudes are starting to get armor.
Override token found.
The dudes, in quotation marks.
Union rep.
What were we talking about before? Oh yeah, something about HC being the best, and then I was talking about something else beforehand. I'm sad now. I completely forgot my tangent. Oh, tutorials. Yeah, that was it. Where I was saying, you know, HCVR. Unfortunately, I don't think it's a hot take to say that HCVR has some pretty not good tutorials. Or it doesn't really try to tutorialize its players, which I think is fine. I think like learning HDVR yourself is part of the experience, in my opinion. Figuring out things that you can and can't do, and learning tips and tricks from other players. You know, I don't think that's a bad thing. The game being very kind of tight-knit. But I do think like the basic controls and, you know, how to actually play the game could do with a bit of work. And I always thought that a actual proper... My
Over there.
Ooh, where's he going? My take on it was that I thought that Anton should do a tutorial which is framed a bit like a devlog. So for anyone who's familiar with his devlogs, just getting into the game, or yeah, just getting into the game, that's where the sentence ended. Oh. This is where we die. Yep. This is where we die, boys. Ah. I've just missed too many shots in a row. Alright, we'll go again.
Uplink successful.
But I do think that the basics should be taught, and it should be taught in the form of a, like, just kind of frame it as a devlog. Like the tutorial is, you know, Anton narrating it. You know, him kind of going like, hey everybody, welcome to our Dogs Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. Let's do a quick sound check. And like, maybe if he really wants to, he could walk you through doing a sound check. That covers most of the mechanics you would need to actually start enjoying the game, in my opinion. You know, like grabbing guns, loading them, the buttons to unload them, you know, pressing down in the touchpad is like the universal mag release. How to close the slide manually on a 1911. Basically, just let you do that, or have you do that. Oh, what am I doing? I think that would really, really work for a tutorial, giving players the basics on how to play the game, and like do it in pretty snappy fashion. You know, do it very quickly, don't drag it on, etc. It's incendiaries, right? Yeah. And you could potentially add in like a bit more as well. Oh, didn't even see him. You know, then teach them like about something else important, like primarily movement as well. I think that's also one of the things that has to be taught is movement. In my opinion, a tutorial for H3 should not require movement. I think that's the main fault that Sampler Platter falls into, in my opinion. Is Sampler Platter is this very, very niche area of usefulness in terms of actually being a tutorial, because in order to get the Sampler Platter, in order to start actually navigating a Sampler Platter, you already have to know how to select things, how to move. You know, you already basically have to have learned like a pretty decent chunk of H3 to actually... Hang on. I'm concentrating, my bad. Let me continue in a second. I forgot how many runs this thing has. It's like 15 or 10. Probably 10. But that's the problem that Sampler Platter has. You already have to know how to move. You already have to know how to select things, how the UI works. You know. And at that point, you've already kind of grasped H3 a little bit. I wouldn't say you've grasped H3 fully, but you already have to have known some kind of difficult things. Or some things that the game really should be teaching you in Sampler Platter itself. So, in my opinion, if H3 ever does get a tutorial, it should get one where it requires no movement. You boot into the game. You don't move to get into the scene. It's like right there. You don't need to do anything. You just need to click it, or like click the button that says "Go into tutorial" or something. And like the entire tutorial, everything you need is right beside you. You can access it all via reach, like no movement required. And then after you've done the sound check, then Anton's like, so here's how you move. What is your preference? Do you get motion sickness? Here's what we suggest. You should use that. And oh. And then he teaches you how to move. You have to go to a certain part in that level. Just kind of walk forward, maybe walk forward a few meters. You know, go like, hey, jog on, get to this area. Once you've done that, maybe he teaches you one more thing. I'm not sure what that would be, because once you learn how to pick stuff up and reload guns and move, that's all you really need to know to actually get the enjoyment out of H3. He can maybe teach you about another firearm. So instead of just a pistol, he gives you an assault rifle or something. Or, oh, fuck yes. Something else that's a bit more complex. Granted, like an M16 isn't much more complex in this game than a pistol. And I'm not really sure what he could add. He could maybe, like, give you an assault rifle and then give you an LMG and go like, alright, here, and then walks you through how to actually reload an LMG, saying like, some guns are more complex to load than others. And, you know, this is an example. We'll guide you through it, and like, you know, every gun kind of ranges in between being really complex, kind of, and being really easy to learn. Something like that could work. And then once it's done, he's like, have fun, shoot some targets. When you're ready to leave, go on to this, this like thing on the ground. Like maybe he puts a teleporter on the ground that will bring you back to the main menu to signify that you're done with the tutorial. And then you just go and have fun. You choose whatever you want. I think that would be really cool for a tutorial, and I think it would really help a lot of new players. I mean, a lot of people think that like a tutorial like that shouldn't be in the game. And I personally do think that a very new player-friendly tutorials, or that, I guess more specifically, a lot of people think that H3 shouldn't be the game that people should gravitate to the second they get VR. Or that we shouldn't be or that H3 shouldn't be the game that should be teaching them about how to play general VR for the first time. And I disagree with that. I think every VR game should, in some way, try and be, like, understand that you may be the first VR game that they play. And I think taking some small amount of steps to ensure that their transition into it is smooth would really help. I'm not suggesting like every game have a like super lengthy tutorial or super lengthy new player tutorial explaining the basics of VR. I think that they should take some steps, like very, very basic steps. Ah, shit. Because ultimately, I think that's what VR is enjoyable. Like, that's why VR is enjoyable, because you can do pretty much anything you... Oh, God. What's wrong? I was unsafe. Hang on. Ugh. Really should have bought a revolver. Oops, I somehow missed point blank. Oh, come on! Stop. Damn it. Shit. Ugh. Well, that went about as successfully as you probably should have expected. And you know what? We're actually going to call it there for now. We're going to call that for day 5. Yeah. So I forget what day it is sometimes. But anyway, thanks for watching for day 5. I think we were talking... I can't remember what we were talking about. I had to get too concerned in the actual final hold. Talking about how... Oh, yeah, we're talking about how actually shouldn't or people say that it shouldn't be the game that should be teaching people how to play VR for the first time. And I disagree. I think that every single VR game should have some form of entrance level tutorial, which gives you the very, 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 very basic rundown of how to control the game, how it functions, what you're supposed to do. And again, doesn't need to be expansive. Doesn't need to be a 10-minute long tutorial. It can be 2-minute long, give you the basic controls, all you need to do to actually start enjoying the game. And because that's what VR is about. VR is about being there, being able to do what you want. You know, like give people the tools to explore, to move around, to interact with the environment. Just that's all you need. Once they have that, they'll go and do it themselves. And like that's all they need. So, and I think HD is really in kind of dire need of one of those, considering how much content there is. But luckily, the community is very, very supportive and very, very nice about teaching new players. And like if anyone has any questions, the community typically answers very, very quickly, very fast, and very nicely. Most of the time. The Discord some people can be a bit annoying and a bit of an asshole sometimes. But everyone is. I'm an asshole sometimes. Alright. Well, there's day 5 for you. December 15th? December 17th. Yes. Yes? I could be wrong. Oh well. Thanks for watching anyway, and I will see you later.